Welcome back, everybody. This is WHIP Radio in Philadelphia. Zach Gelb here with you, flying solo on this Thursday, taking you up until noon Eastern Time, where the Temple Sports Hour will come your way. This Sunday at MetLife Stadium, the 0-2 Philadelphia Eagles, led by Chip Kelly, who's very stubborn right now, will go up the turnpike to Jersey, and they'll face the undefeated New York Jets. The Jets are 2-0 on the year. So let's go out to the hotline right now and welcome in a former Jets special team coach, was there from 2001 to 2012, and that's our good friend Mike Westhoff. Mike, Zach Gelb here. Great to have you back on. How are you?
Zach, thanks.
Well, thank you for.
Good to be on.
Well, it's great to have you back on the show. It's always a treat to talk to you. And I actually thought about you as I was on the call for a Temple football win in Foxborough on Saturday as the Owls defeated the UMass Minutemen, because that was one of the craziest endings to a football game that I've ever seen. For the people that don't know, it was a special teams play. It was a blocked PAT. Temple took it to the house. It was 2 points. There was an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty on that play, so that gave Temple the ball back, and then their quarterback went downfield, and they ended up winning it on a game-winning field goal. I've just never seen a PAT like that return, Mike. It was insane.
That's the crazy kind of things that could happen. Temple's a pretty good football team. I watched them play Penn State, and I was very impressed with their defense, so people should probably be pretty excited. But those things, that kind of thing can happen. And then, of course, the personal foul, there's obviously no excuse for that, and that just gave a chance.
Those are just some things you practice those final 2 minutes of the game, but just to see something like that happen and to come to fruition is just something really special. And after the game, Temple's head football coach Matt Rule was asked about his kicker Austin Jones, who's a sophomore, and they said the biggest difference from last year to this year is that Austin is just in better shape. And I thought that was very interesting because in week one we saw the Penn State kicker come in, and he's a little bit of a bigger boy. And I was just wondering, how much does that play into a factor of shape with the special teams player, especially a kicker?
The ones that I had in my career, I was very fortunate, and I had quite a few really good kickers. I started back my first year in 1982. I actually drafted Ron Stark with the Indianapolis Colts, and then went to Miami with Reggie Roby and Pete Stoyanovich and Belinda Omari, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I had quite a few. One common denominator are good athletes that are in good condition. That's a common denominator, and that makes it, you're a better football player anyway, including a kicker. There's only, Reggie Roby was the biggest guy that I ever had, but yet he was in better shape than what people thought he was, and he was so powerful. So the common denominator for that is getting in good shape and being very functional, and no matter what position you're playing, it adds to it. It adds to the resume.
So let's get to the kicking game now on the NFL front. You see the Steelers are going for two with the new extra point rule that pushes the extra point back. And then a few years ago, they changed the kickoff rules. You've been in the special teams games from a long time. We know it's a passion for you. Where do you think about the direction that the NFL is moving in their special teams department?
Well, it's watering. I was actually in the league office last week. I'm back here in New York now, but I was in there and we were talking about this very thing, and I'm on a crusade to bring it back because it's being watered down right now, and it's almost faded out. The number of plays, I used to count on, not counting field goals or PATs, I used to count on 22 plays on an average per week. The opening game of the year when Pittsburgh played up in New England, 5 special teams plays, 5. That's it. There just aren't many plays today. The kickoffs were touchbacks. They put the rule in with a safety type rule. They overdid it. I've actually can show them a way to put it back. And then, of course, with offenses being very prolific today, with the exception of maybe you guys down there where you can't get a first down, but that's kind of interesting. But they're punting. They're just not punting as much, and they're punting from positive territory. So the number of plays is diminished. Now, the teams that are still very strong, like, for example, like Philadelphia was last year, did a great job. Had kept the number of players to really help them in that regard. And when that few plays came up to bat, they were very, very efficient, extremely so, and had this incredible year. But you're not seeing as much of that today. They're not dressing as many guys for special teams. Rosters are being configured a little bit differently because you just don't have the active number of plays. I'm actually pushing and campaigning to bring some things back. I think I've got some very good ideas, and I may have a chance to the kicking from the 15. I talked to league league officials last year, and I guess I got my 2 cents in is probably all I could say. I was in favor of it. You know, when the percentage was 99-6, I don't like a non-play. This gives them a play. Some teams will go for 2. It'll become a factor. There are more missed kicks already than what we've seen in years, and that's going to take place. That's going to happen. I'm convinced that if they want to straighten out the kicking, it's a very simple solution. Number one, kickers are bigger and stronger. You just mentioned it. You're not allowed to line anyone up on the center, so snaps are perfect today. Long snappers are specialists. They used to have to be a big offensive lineman. They're not today. So snaps are perfect. Everyone knows how to hold. Holds are now perfect. So get-off times from kick to snap to kick have dropped from 1-3-3 to 1-2-2 on an average. The field conditions are perfect today. You know, look at the difference between your stadium in Philadelphia and the one they used to play in. Come on, it's not even the same. Stadiums are configured differently. Wind is not as much a factor as it was. So consequently, kicking has become kind of pedestrian. Percentages are way up. I want them to narrow the goalpost 1 yard, 1.5 feet on each side. Create a kicking hash. I experimented with this when I was helping with that XFL that they do. I've helped them a lot. We created a hash just a little bit slighter than the college hash. So what you're going to have is a slightly smaller target from a slightly wider angle. It'll bring the percentage back to about 85 or 86 where it belongs and straighten it out. But it's being watered down. I'm very disappointed in it. I was offered a number of jobs, and I won't take them. I don't want to do it anyway. I kind of like doing this media stuff that I'm doing now.
You like the off time, right?
Yeah, I coached a long time. And so the factor is it's just the same job that I had doesn't exist today.
Hey, why we have you on? Because you mentioned up the Eagles special teams, and I think you raise a lot of good points, and it would bring some more excitement to the kicking game and bring it back, because I agree with you. It is getting watered down, and I think it's a shame how they're moving the special teams unit in the NFL, because it's still a team game, especially when you get into those later months of the year and in the playoffs. Like, I remember that Giants-Pats Super Bowl back in 2012, the second one. Steve Weatherford just dominated the first half, putting the Giants in great field position. But the Eagles, though, their special teams, they were great last year, and then this year already they had 2 mishaps, one the blocked punt, and then a missed field goal in that Falcons game. You were in the league for a long time coaching special teams. What was your philosophy about building a consistent special teams program for your teams?
No, that's a good point. I mean, I loved it. You know, I did it. Well, I coached offense a lot at Miami, but yet I always coached special teams, and then eventually got to where that's all we did. We would keep a number of players. Jimmy Johnson, when I coached with him, did a great job of this, and so did Don Shula, where we kept a number of players where that was their role. And we were, Jimmy's whole thing was you play 3 separate games, and we were always going to win one of those 3 because we would always be better on special teams, and we pretty much always were. You would keep this, you build this unit, and they had a pride in themselves, and they could create plays to help you win. When I was with the Jets, in the 12 years that I was with the Jets, we had 9 different guys that led the NFL in returns. No one will ever touch that. No one will touch that record. It was incredible. We helped win a lot of games. We weren't a great football team. We didn't have the all-star quarterback that made the game a one-dimensional game. But we had a good, solid team that got in the playoffs and a couple times went to the AFC Championship game. So we were headed in the right direction, and that was a big part of it. I loved it because I could go into a college and look at some young kid and, kind of a nondescript guy, maybe wasn't big enough, but I knew he had a role, and he could help you win games. And that role, he became very functional. Now, with only 5 plays, the general manager looks at you and says, well, you don't need him. We'll dress an extra wide receiver. We don't need to pay him this much money. We'll sign 2 rookies, and we'll have enough money to pay our quarterback $85 million. Well, that's it for me. I'm going home. I'm talking to you. I'm done. So that took me right out of the game.
Mike Westhoff is our guest right now, WHIP Radio in Philadelphia. Mike, everyone's panicking here in Philadelphia. The Birds are 0-2. People had Super Bowl hopes going into the year, and they went from hopeful to hopeless. You know the Pope is in town, so everyone's imploring the Pope to give the Eagles a papal blessing. And Chip Kelly is a very stubborn head coach. He had a big thing in the offseason where it was his way or the highway, and through 2 games it's been a failure. You've been in the league a long time, like we've mentioned. What's your stance on the Eagles head coach?
Yeah, well, the Pope's here first in New York, so I'm hoping that he hits the Jets first before they play the Eagles, and then
they don't need it right now, though.
Pardon me?
They don't need a papal blessing though right now.
We're going to take it. They're going to send him down to Philadelphia to give that punter a papal blessing because he got knocked out from the bleachers. And that poor kid, he didn't need a trainer; he needed a Pope. I was I kind of respected and admired in some ways Chip for his really believing in his system. But when you give up that many good football players, you better make sure that the people you're bringing in fit into what you're doing. I thought McCoy was perfect for running that stretch sweep that he loves to run with all the cutbacks. I'm not sure DeMario Murray can do that. He's a power-type runner. And I don't see the offensive line at Philadelphia with giving up those guards as being a powerful offensive line. Well, they're ranked 32nd in the league right now in rushing, so I'm probably not too far off. And no matter who you are, the secret in the National Football League is being able to diversify. Being able to do a lot of things. Every week you have to be able to show something different. And I think in some ways people caught up to him. They caught up to what he was doing with the way that he sped his time up. He's getting the ball snapped with about 22 seconds on the play clock. And so what I've watched and talked to people about the way they're defending that, they're not worrying about the substitution so much. They're matching up. They're trying to just match up with the people they have on the field, and they're playing as formations. Lee talked about that after the game. He said they really only had 4 running plays. Well, it looked like they only had 4 running plays against Dallas. And so, you better be a little versatile, and not be stubborn enough to think that you can't, because people are going to catch you. Now, you may start off and catch them off guard, and everybody thinks you've got the magical answer, but you don't. Not in this league. And I've seen it. And I was with Coach Shula for all those years and coached offense. And we had Dan Marino, et cetera, but yet we were constantly being able to tinker and change. Bill Belichick probably does that better than anyone. It's like a different game plan every week. And that's what I don't think. I think Chip, in some ways, has been a little stubborn with that. I talked to our media, because I'm here in New York, and the media guys were telling me yesterday that in his conference call, it was almost a belligerent arrogance, the way that he talked about it. This is what they told me, the way he referred to, we're going to run the ball, not backwards, that type of remark. That doesn't go very well. Come on, realize that what you have, you've got to make some changes. And I know he's a smart guy, and I think that the Jets will see that. They'll see those types of things. So, but the point is, he painted himself, they gave him a lot of rope. And right now it's not working very well. I think he'll bounce back from some from it. But yet, I think I saw a statistic that if you start 0-3, you only have a 3% chance of going into playoffs. So this is a gigantic game for him.
I don't have the confidence that he's going to change. And you're right. In this league, when things don't go right, you need to adapt and sometimes go from your traditional ways. And this goes back to last year, his stubbornness, especially in the red zone. Against the Cowboys the other week, they had 2 plays. They threw 2 shotgun passes, and the second one got intercepted. And then going back to last year against the 49ers, this is from the 6, Mike. First down, shotgun incomplete pass. Second down, shotgun run, and I hate a shotgun run inside the red zone. Third down, shotgun incomplete pass, and then fourth down, shotgun incomplete pass. I'm just wondering, what do you think it's going to take for him to change? Because for me, I look at him and I say he's in a win-win situation. Even if he gets embarrassed here in Philadelphia and gets fired after this year, he'll just go back to college and make $7 million coaching USC or Texas.
Well, if that's what you want, if that's your goal, then go ahead. I don't think he's got that. I think he certainly has to have a pride and a belief in what he's doing. But I totally agree with you in the fact that you better be able to change. This isn't college football. I coached in the NFL for 30 years, and this is a different game. I used to have a sign in my office that said, the men play on Sundays. Well, guess what? The men do play on Sundays. And I think you better be prepared for that and to make some changes. I know one thing for sure with the type of offense that they've run with Bradford, and I've talked to different coaches, no one's afraid of him running the football. They're just not. So they're shutting the run down. They know he's not a threat to run, and he's really a traditional passer. He's not a big guy. I was actually, I've always been kind of a fan because I like the way he practices, the way he works, but he's been injured. But he's so frail. I mean, I saw they did a thing where he was playing badminton. They better get him in the weight room. I mean, he looks like he's thin as a number 2 pencil. So that kind of scares me a little bit with him. So I think you're going to have to see some changes. I'll tell you what now, this defense that they're going up against this week with the New York Jets, I'm going to tell you, this is a good group now. They are a good group. They're excellent up front. They've got from the secondary, arguably is the best secondary in the NFL. They're an opportunistic team. They'll make some mistakes. They'll give up, but they can turn the ball over. And they've had 10 turnovers. They attack you, and those guys up front are really legit. And so they're going to put a heck of a lot of pressure on Philadelphia's offense. And the turning the ball over has been Jets' secret. That's why they've won 2 games, because they've turned it over, and then they've capitalized, not perfectly, but enough. But Philadelphia, get ready. And I don't think they can come in with the same plan that I've watched Philadelphia play the last 2 games. I don't think that'll work against the Jets.
We're talking to Mike Westhoff, and Coach, I agree with you 110%, and that's another move that Chip Kelly made, was getting rid of Evan Mathis, and I just see these Jets once again on Sunday going out there and dominating like they did on Monday, and they have no rush, and the Eagles will have no chance to stop that Jets rush. That's just my opinion. Hey, we know we have to still play the games and see how it goes out, but I just want to transition real quickly before we let you run to this Jets offense. I love this synergy between the GM and the head coach and Todd Bowles and Mike McCagnon. I didn't really see that last year with Rex Ryan and Idzik, and that goes back to the whole not re-signing Darrelle Revis. But Brandon Marshall was a sensational pickup for the Jets, and the Eagles, they have a battered up front 7. Michael Kendricks, we don't know if he's going to play this week. Kiko Alonso will be out 2 to 4 weeks, and then you have some more injuries on that front for the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm just really concerned that you're going to have once again, Mike, a situation like you saw in the Atlanta Falcons game where the Jets are just going to have all day to throw the football, and Brandon Marshall is going to torch this Eagles secondary.
Yeah, they've done a nice job with it. The Jets, kind of the unsung heroes, in my opinion, have been the offensive line. They brought in a free agent, Carpenter, from Seattle. He's been a very good addition. And Fitzpatrick has done a very nice job, a workmanlike job, and getting the ball. And when they line up with Decker and Brandon Marshall, and they've got, their number 2 draft pick, should probably play this week, the young man from Ohio State, Devin Smith, he can fly. So, and with Chris Ivory running the ball, that's a good group that can do a lot of things. And Chan Gailey has worked with Fitzpatrick before. They're on the same page. And so they're doing some nice things. They're moving Brandon around. I kind of call it the Julio Jones syndrome. For what Atlanta has taken Julio Jones, and they play him everywhere. And he just makes plays. So get the ball to your best guy. So they're doing this a little bit with Brandon Marshall, and it's been very successful. He's a big guy. They're using him in the right spots. And then when you add Decker in there and you're going to add this Smith kid now, and you better get ready for Ivory. Don't forget, the Jets could run the ball very well last year. Now I think they have a better offense. The only way people are stopping them is with an 8-man front and run blitzes. That's the only thing that stopped the Jets' running game, and then the Jets can come and counteract with play-action passes and things like that. So they have a good enough offense, but they're getting put in some very favorable positions because of the turnovers that the defense is creating. So if they can get it all together in those 2 regards, then they have an opportunity to beat a lot of people, because where you need to be good, they actually are good now. They were not for a number of years, but I've covered them now for the last 3 and 4 years, and of course coached them for 12 before that. But this is a much, much more talented football team, much more talented.
Before we let you run, and this is the final one with you, just the quarterback position with Fitzpatrick, and obviously going into the year they thought it was going to be Geno Smith, and then the whole incident happened in the locker room, and now Fitzpatrick is the guy for the foreseeable future. The ultimate downfall, though, with the Jets over the years has been turnovers. Can Fitzpatrick sustain this success and keep it going?
He seems that he's doing that. They seem to be very much on the same page, with he and Chan Gailey. The fact that they can run the ball. Fitzpatrick it looks like he's really trying to make the right decisions. He's not forcing things. He's making the right call. He can get rid of the ball. He has time to throw. Their offensive line has protected him very, very well. And also, when you've got some big, solid possession-type receivers like Decker, Eric Decker is a good football player. He's good. He can really be. Between he and Marshall last week, they had 15 catches for over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. And those two guys are pretty good. And really, their fastest guy, Devin Smith, hasn't even stepped on the field yet. So they've got enough weapons around Fitzpatrick, and he's making the right decisions. He can scramble enough. He's not a runner, but he can run enough and slide and get out of the road. And so, he's managing the game very, very well. And when you're doing it from the shorter fields that they're playing on, they can win with him. They can win with this guy.
Coach Westhoff, we appreciate it as always. Thanks so much. We really appreciate your knowledge.
All right, it'd be fun to watch.
There's Mike.
Thanks for asking.
Thank you so much. There's Mike Westhoff.